we just had to keep it generic with the Ole Miss stinger because it just gets to the point that we just keep going into the hole of Ole Miss Rebels basketball just not being good. At least the men's. The men's aren't good.
The women's are great. Coach Yo is doing a phenomenal job with the women's team, but the men have lost like 9 in a row or something.
Yeah.
It's something crazy like that.
I didn't think that it would be this bad.
It's bad.
It's 3-11 in conference play as we're taping this, 11-16 overall. So, of course, in anything regarding Ole Miss athletics, we bring on our friend of the program. You can't talk Ole Miss athletics without him. He is the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch right here on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcast. Once again, welcome to the program, Mr. Steven Willis. Now, Steven, before you say anything, I'm a big wrestling fan. And, you know, my guy Cody Rose, he often says, what do you want to talk about? So I pose that question to you. What do you want to talk about?
I guess right now we need to talk about how the baseball team is undefeated. That is very much a high point. They've got a 3-game series over the weekend. You can catch out the games for nothing on YouTube if you want to watch, but they play Baylor, they play Ohio State, they play Coastal Carolina, who was the runner-up for the national title, and Ole Miss is probably going to do fairly well down in Houston. They're playing where the Astros play. Should be a lot of fun, but this baseball team, they're finding different ways to win games, which is something they couldn't do a year ago, and that should give everybody a good bit of hope.
We're going to keep it right here with you, Steven, for a second. Let me just say, is it odd that we're having to talk highlights of baseball in February? I mean, we're not even out of February yet. We should be getting geared up for March Madness.
Yeah, this is a team that was fresh off of a Sweet 16 run, you know. Sean Padula and all of those guys, the Ole Miss basketball team was good last year, like really good. And you had a couple of evaluations that just went sideways on Chris Beard, and all of a sudden you have what's before you to where they haven't won a basketball game in about a month.
Man, a month in basketball season is forever. Can we just say that? If you don't win a basketball game in 2-3 weeks, that's an eternity in the high school basketball, the college basketball world.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's not just that they're losing, it's the way they're losing. Like they were up by 13, 14 points on Texas A&M and didn't score the last 4 minutes of the game, ended up losing by 3. It is just an example of a team that just, for whatever you want to look at it, it's just broken. They can't figure out how to get it across the finish line. I don't know if it's not having a Batman on the team. I don't know if it's just not having a basket getter, or the fact that over the last 3 years, even last year, there was a struggle rebounding the basketball for Ole Miss. I don't know exactly what the problem is. I'm sure Chris Beard will get it fixed. I have no doubt that would happen. But this year it just didn't work out.
How much grace do you think we have to give Chris Beard? Because I know in sports we become very quick of, what have you done for me lately? Obviously, Chris Beard, he can't have another season like this again, or else we might be having another discussion about how much longer his time in Oxford will be.
Yeah, I don't know about that. And this is, like, if it was Mark Pope, yeah, that's a different conversation.
Oh, man, I almost wanted to get into that, but this ain't a Kentucky show.
Yeah. Or even Penny in Memphis, it'd be a different conversation. I think at Ole Miss, basketball, men's basketball is the third or the fourth sport, depending on how it's going. It's football, it's baseball. He gets 3 years for going to the Sweet 16, in my opinion, no matter if the next 3 years just fall apart. I don't think that that's going to happen. I do think that when it comes to men's basketball, they handle things a little bit differently in Oxford.
Now, I know we want to talk about men's basketball quite a bit, but I do think we got to take a second and give a shout out to the women's team, Coach Yo.
Yeah,
even though they lost to LSU, it's a game that they could have won. They could have beaten LSU at that game. Still an amazing atmosphere, ton of people, a great game, and even got some trolling by Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, let's get into that. Let's talk about that.
Oh, what do y'all want to know?
So since you asked, what was that? Why is he going at it with Coach Yo on Twitter? Like, why is he trolling? What was that all about? What are we doing? Keep it football.
Okay, if we want to get into it, we can get into it. Lane Kiffin is fixated on Ole Miss for one reason. He was not allowed to coach the playoffs and go to LSU. He wants to burn the whole program to the ground. He has immense dislike, and he has made Ole Miss the Super Bowl for LSU in their first season. Whenever they come up to Oxford, they're going to treat it like he used to treat the Alabama game. And when LSU defeats Ole Miss, he is going to take shots on Twitter. That's what he does. And he kind of picked the wrong person to take a shot at as well, because Coach O doesn't play. And you want to get on Twitter and say something, you better be able to back it up, because one of the most funny things in the world, she had a GIF just set up of Lane Kiffin being struck out in slow pitch softball by Coach Yo, and it's the funniest thing in the world. If anybody has not seen it, you should watch that. But yes, a person struck out in slow pitch softball. Now, granted, it was a fundraiser, Grove Collective celebrity softball game, but he still struck out. And Coach Yo was like, "Hey, you need to quit while you're ahead, because I got the files." And I was like, "I don't know what that means, but I wouldn't mess with it."
Well, she was quick with the response.
Yeah.
Quick with. And I respect that, because for me, why would you even try to tank that? It was a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
LSU won, but it's not like Coach Kiffin was coaching. Kim Mulkey's got that. She definitely don't need him to co-sign. She is a legend in her own right. So I did think it was super messy and unnecessary, but kind of par for the course since he's left.
Yeah, and he deleted the tweet. That's how you know that he kind of got run on social media a little bit, is because he deleted the tweet. And we'll see. As it gets closer, as the game on September 19th gets a little bit closer, you're going to have game day. You're going to have all the big game field. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Anybody that is wanting all of this to stop, it's just not going to go away until at least after this ball game.
Stephen, what do you feel about Stephen A. Smith coming to Oxford? And, obviously there was the controversy of what he said about Oxford earlier in the year and on First Take. What did you feel about seeing him finally kind of take in that atmosphere? And he seemed like he had a good time.
Yeah, this is the thing. The narrative that he took for somebody that hadn't been down there and been around, it's a lazy narrative that was 40 years ago narrative.
Yeah.
And so if you go down and see it, it's not going to be that way at all. So of course he had a good time, but I understand that that's the low-hanging fruit argument, that whenever Ole Miss ends up losing at anything, a coach or a recruit or something like that, that's kind of low-hanging fruit. Well, it must have been because of that. It wasn't because of that, but I understand that somebody in Connecticut, it doesn't take the time to research actually what's going on and just kind of takes the lowest hanging fruit. I'm glad that he came down to Ole Miss. I'm glad he actually got to see with his own eyes exactly what was going on. And he's going to be back for guess what? The Ole Miss LSU game. My money is he is going to be the celebrity guest picker for that game on game day for that weekend.
Let's stay touching on that, Stephen, because I am a person who, I'm right there. So before I got this job and before, I started, really learning about Ole Miss, I was like Stephen A. I had the stigma. I remember I used to pass through, me and Ruben both went to Oklahoma State. I'm from Atlanta. I would pass through coming home from Oklahoma State, and I'd have to pass through Oxford, and I used to always have those same mind concepts that Stephen A. had. But covering this team for a year during football season and being down in Oxford and just how nice the people are. And I talk to people who look like me, and I ask them straight up, hey, is it like that down here? And I'm like, nah, it ain't never happened. So I'm glad that Stephen A. Smith got a chance to see it for his own, because I was just like him. And I love Oxford. I told my dad, I was like, man, if I have kids and they wanted to go to Ole Miss, hey, I wouldn't be against it. And my dad was still the typical, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm sure, because I done been down there. I like the people in Oxford.
Yeah, the 60s and the 50s happened in the state of Mississippi. There's no sense in running away from that. But Ole Miss and Oxford has done a fantastic job of actually learning from that. And now you have this oasis in North Mississippi of just inclusion and everything there. And Ole Miss can be proud of what they have become in the ashes of that. Because the ghost of Mississippi and all the documentaries that you see from like 1962, that could have went a completely different direction than it did. And props to Ole Miss for going the right way on that.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. We've been talking about a lot of stuff, and we haven't really had a chance, and forgive me, but I really don't want to talk Ole Miss basketball anymore unless you guys are really just dying to. Can we start talking about Ole Miss football and what things are looking? I know you're on Portal Watch every day, seeing kind of who should people be keeping an eye on? Like who's coming in that people need to know about? How good is this team going to be?
Well, the first thing that you need to remember and think of is Ole Miss has the best quarterback and the best running back and the best kicker perhaps in the country.
Yep.
I mean, that's everybody. So you're going into a football season with that, you're going to be pretty good. So Pete Golding just had to keep the Ferrari on the road, so to speak. And he completely knocked it out of the park on the defensive side of the ball. They recruited defensive linemen, linebackers, defensive backs, because last year he couldn't play man coverage. You can't have an aggressive defense and not be able to play man coverage. It just doesn't work, because when the other team knew that Ole Miss was playing man coverage, it usually was a big play or a bust or something happened. This year's class was recruited with the idea that man coverage was going to be played. They got Jay Crawford out of Auburn. He was the best cornerback on perhaps the best defense in all of the SEC a year ago. Edwin Josephs, the free safety out of Florida State, who's kind of a ball hawk. Janel Aguero, a former five-star coming over from Georgia, started on that defense. Shareef Denson, they have remade their secondary, and the young guys are going to come up. I think you're going to see an Ole Miss team that doesn't have to score 30 points a game to win next season, but I think they're going to score 40 points a game anyway.
Shareef Denson, I'm wondering if he's any kin of mine,
Probably not.
Well, we know it's a lot of Diaz's out there, so it could be some kin to Diaz's. But, Steven, is it safe to say, we talk about it, obviously, the Trinidad Chambliss news, and I wanted to touch on this last week when we had you on. Is it safe to say that Trinidad Chambliss walks in as the best SEC quarterback and a, for sure, top 5 Heisman guy?
Yes, the odds came out on FanDuel.com. Trinidad was 8-1, tied for the top odds to win the Heisman Trophy.
There we go.
So, yeah, that's not just us saying it. That's the odds maker, the people that have money riding on this decision. So, him and CJ Carr right now are tied. They're just ahead of Arch Manning. I think it's interesting. Like I said, the best quarterback, the best running back, and the best kicker. That is 3 positions that affect winning. And if you don't think a kicker affects winning, go back and watch the playoffs for Ole Miss this year when he was making 57 and 58-yard field goals like they were nothing. That was still one of the most impressive things I've seen. But Trinidad had a generational run. Kiwan tied the school record. I can't believe he ran for 1,567 yards and directly, absolutely tied Quinshon Judkins. It's interesting to see. It's going to come down to the defense. Ole Miss has an electric special teams. If the defense is stingy, if the defense is closer to 2024 than 2025, this is going to be a team that can play in Atlanta. They can do the playoff thing again, and everything's on the table. Even though the schedule is tougher, this team is better.
There's no such thing as an easy schedule in the SEC anyway. But to your point, you mentioned how they focused on the defense a lot during the portal. But I do remember several games last year when those young corners were being picked on in ISO coverage consistently. So it'd be great to see that fixed. What about the offensive line? That's the million-dollar question, because I don't care how good Trinidad is. I don't care how good Kiwan is. If they don't have the big boys, the big hogs to handle it.
They got that Kyrius guy, didn't they? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Kyrius Kerns, I think.
I don't know, Steven.
Kyrius Kern.
Kyrius Kern. Thank you.
He transferred from LSU. He was the top transfer portal addition they got. He is going to probably be the right tackle for Ole Miss this year. At least that's the plan. Ole Miss returns all three in the interior of the offensive line, including the offensive lineman of the year in the state of Mississippi in college football last year, and Patrick Kudas, Memphis native, by the way. Bryson Sanders at center, and they're going to get Delano Townsend at left guard. And whenever he got inserted in the line last year, Ole Miss kind of took off a little bit. Left tackle, Terez Davis, started as a true freshman at Maryland, transferred, got injured, fell behind a little bit. This year, it's going to be up to him in spring to kind of lay the groundwork with what happens. Tommy Kinsler, a big guy from Miami, transferred in as well. And Connor Halls is from originally Kissimmee, Florida. Ole Miss pretty high on him at the tackle position as well. I kind of like where they sit at the moment on the offensive line, but you're right. Losing Jaden Williams and losing Diego Pounds, that significant losses. The pieces are in place, though, for them to make a run.
All right, Steven, we could keep you here all day.
Yeah.
But we won't. I'm
You
sure
know.
you want to eat lunch. I'm starving like Marvin, too.
Always. He's always hungry. Always hungry.
All right, so we're going to let you go, Steven. We appreciate you taking the time to break down all this Ole Miss, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between.
Yeah. Really quick, Steven, tell us what you're working on the Locked On Network.
Well, we're waiting to see the dates for spring practice because Ole Miss spring break is on March 7th. It begins. So spring practice usually starts around that time frame. So we'll pay attention to that. We'll look at college baseball, the big tournament in Houston this weekend, and SEC play. Ole Miss doesn't play, I don't know, but one team that's outside of the RPI top 25 in the SEC. The baseball schedule is going to be a bear. And we'll see if Coach Yo can get the legs back on the Lady Rebs after 4 games in the state, 4 games in a week, to where they just kind of tried to do the 1899 Sewanee thing. We'll see if they can kind of get that fixed as well.
We appreciate your good work as always, Steven. It's always Hotty Toddy over in your parts. We will catch you next week talking more Ole Miss athletics.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, got to talk about some of what? The best things we saw?
The best things we saw, and it's a bunch of quotables. You're going to love his, you're going to love mine, you're going to like mine better. But
Impossible.
We'll see.
We'll
be back.
The judge.